There is a peculiar silence that follows intelligence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of distance. One begins life as everyone does, immersed, entangled, unquestioning. The world feels immediate, relationships feel natural, belonging feels effortless. But then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, something changes. The mind begins to awaken, not merely to knowledge, but to awareness. And awareness, unlike knowledge, does not simply add, it separates. For to see clearly is, in some sense, to stand apart. An intelligent person does not merely participate in the world, they observe it. They notice the patterns beneath behavior, the motives beneath words, the quiet contradictions that hold everything together. What others accept as given, they examine. What others feel, they question. What others move through instinctively, they move through consciously. And this consciousness, though a gift, carries with it a subtle cost. For most human connections are not built upon truth in its rawest form, but upon a delicate harmony of shared assumptions, agreements we never articulate, illusions we never challenge, simplifications we never resist. These are not deceptions in a malicious sense. They are the gentle fictions that make life livable, conversations fluid, relationships effortless. But the intelligent mind is not always at ease with such fictions. It does not reject them out of arrogance, but out of an almost involuntary honesty. It sees where things do not align, where words diverge from intentions, where comfort takes precedence over truth. And in seeing this, it becomes difficult, sometimes impossible, to fully surrender to the simplicity that binds others together. Thus begins a quiet estrangement, not loud, not dramatic, but gradual. A sense that one is present, yet not entirely within. That one speaks, yet something essential remains untranslated. That one listens, yet hears echoes where others hear meaning. It is not that intelligent people do not desire connection. On the contrary, they often desire it more deeply than most. But what they seek is not mere proximity. It is resonance. Not conversation, but understanding. Not company, but recognition. And such things are rare. There is also within them a certain depth of feeling that complicates what might otherwise be simple. To perceive more is also to feel more, to sense the undercurrents beneath every interaction, to carry the weight of unspoken tensions, to be aware of the fragility of things others take for granted. Love is no longer just affection, it becomes inquiry. Trust is no longer just given, it is examined, tested, understood. And this depth, while profound, can be isolating. Because depth is difficult to share in a world that often moves on the surface. Over time, solitude ceases to feel like an accident and begins to feel like a condition, perhaps even a choice. Not a rejection of others, but a quiet refusal to engage in what feels inauthentic. The intelligent person learns to be alone not because they have lost the need for others, but because they have lost the ability to pretend. And yet, beneath this solitude, there remains something undeniably human. A longing, not for many, but for one. Not for noise, but for clarity. Not for attention, but for presence. The desire to encounter another mind that does not require translation, another soul that does not fear depth, another being in whom thought and feeling move with the same quiet intensity. This is why intelligent people often find themselves alone, not because they are distant, but because they are discerning. Not because they are incapable of connection, but because they are unwilling to settle for its lesser forms. And so they wait, not always consciously, not always patiently, but inevitably, for something that is not common, and therefore not easily found. And in that waiting, in that solitude, they come to understand something even deeper. That loneliness is not merely the absence of others, It is the presence of a self that refuses to be diminished. And perhaps, in the end, that is not a tragedy, but a quiet, uncompromising form of truth.